Okay, lesson 2.4.5. So how'd you guys do on that? Yay, nay? Yeah. Okay, so let's go over the answers on your little packet here. I was able to finish it myself in about a minute, but that's besides the fact. They weren't too hard of questions. Yep. Yeah. Exactly. Okay, so number one, if a human becomes infected with the malaria parasite, then which symptom will he have at the beginning? So which symptom will you have at the beginning if you get malaria? Evan?
A.
A, fever and chills, yep. So if you didn't get that one, number one is A. So I would circle that if you don't have that, or change it. So number two, malaria, if not treated with the proper medicine in time, can lead to all of these except which one of the following? Bethy?
Paralysis.
Paralysis, yep. So you can't get paralysis. So that is letter A. Organ failure is one of them, death, breathing problems, and brain swelling. And if you couldn't find that in the reading, it was at the bottom of page 1 and then onto the second page. So if you don't believe me. Number three, on which continent are the most cases of malaria every year? So where is that happening? Aries? A, Africa. So if you didn't notice, it's A all the way through. So Africa, and that is on the second page as well. So save this. I would put this in your notes section because those three questions will probably, actually they're not probably, they will appear on your upcoming quiz. Okay? Yes, Caleb.
Isn't paralysis something you're born with?
No. Paralysis is something that happens to your spinal cord. So if there's certain parts of your different types of paralysis. So you can be paralyzed from the waist down, you can be paralyzed from the neck down, or you could be completely paralyzed and you're not able to function at all. Okay.
I was thinking of sleep paralysis.
You're thinking of something else. Yeah, that's not sleep paralysis. So lesson 2.4.5, sporozoans. Okay, so, oh man, it went all the way to the beginning or the end. That ruined it. Yes, it went all the way to the end. Oh, I clicked on page down, that's what happened. So I have a meme in here, just in case you didn't figure that out by seeing it. Okay, sporozoans. So if you don't have these already on your notes, I would write them down. Some of you who have them already in your notes, great. So first trait that they have, first characteristic, is that they are heterotrophic. They are heterotrophic. Remind me again, what does heterotrophic mean? Or what is a heterotroph? Aries? Exactly, it's an organism. So like for example, humans, it's going to feed off of another organism for food. So humans, we feed off of plants, animals, even fungi, as you have learned. And we feed off of mold as well. So we feed off of everything. Yep, that's what we have learned this year. Yes. Good, nice. Yeah, I'm keeping those all year, so we're gonna see what happens to them. The one I took home, it ended up dying already. I forgot to feed it.
Oh, yeah.
Sporozoans. Okay, so point number two, they cannot move on their own. So they cannot move on their own. So what does that entail that they can't move on their own? Madeline? Yeah, they don't have a flagellum or the cilia. So cilia, that's the little hair-like structures that are on the outside. The flagellum, that's the long tail. So they do not have either of those, so they are not able to move at all. So how are they able to infect other things if they can't even move? Ellen? By finding a host, exactly. Yes, Evan? I'll come back to you when you remember. Caleb?
Isn't it kind of like it's taking a bus, though?
Essentially, but you have to move to the bus. So not exactly. Evan, do you remember? Mosquito is an insect, yep. And so mosquito is the host, as Ellen put it. So they are able to go inside the host, which is the mosquito, multiply inside the mosquito, and then infect humans. or other organisms. William?
So a mosquito is kind of like a Uber driver.
Yes. Yep.
Basically, the mosquitoes pick it up in like somewhere like Africa, South America,
Right.
and other eastern.
Warm climates.
Yeah.
Warm climates, close to the equator. Oasis?
Kind of rare.
1 second. What were you saying?
It was kind of rare.
Kind of rare. It's rare. Yeah. Yeah.
Mosquitoes move their beak and cover your skin.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's not a beak, but I don't know what it's called, so I can't technically correct you. Madeline?
Your straw mouth.
Are they asexual or sexually reproductive?
Both.
Because if they have it inside their system and then they have kids,
Yes.
won't they have it in their blood?
Exactly.
And then so basically it just keeps going.
Yes. Are you saying like a human, if let's say mom has it and then they would pass it down to their baby, or are you saying inside the cell? Mosquitoes, yes. They would do the same thing.
So they would
Yep.
have the mosquito would have it forever.
Yep. So do we have to worry about this here in America? No. You do not have to worry about it in America. You have to worry about it in Africa. So especially the middle parts of Africa that are closer to the equator. And why is that? Why is that? I'm kind of skipping ahead in my PowerPoint a little bit. Ian? Because it's hotter, and that is where sporozoans thrive. That's where they thrive. Yes, William?
The tropical area.
Tropical areas as well, so parts of South America as well. But why is it more popular in Africa especially? Yeah, Madeline? It's a dry land, but why is Africa not able to control it like other places around the equator? Why are they able to control it, and places, Africa, they haven't figured it out? Well, they know how, but they haven't. I think
Africa is a really big continent.
it's a really big continent. So what do we know about those parts of Africa referring to? William?
I think that since the equator travels straight through Africa,
Mm-hmm.
like it can travel all around
Yep.
if it has a host.
So you guys are all right on what you're saying. You're just not hitting the key point that I'm thinking of. Caleb?
Because they don't have a lot of money and they don't have enough for like buying things.
There we
that
go.
they should do it for.
Yep, you guys are all right in what you're saying, but I was looking for the fact that in Africa, they don't have the money and yep, they're a poor country, so they don't have the money and resources to protect themselves against.
Very big, but
So those of you who've heard of types of fundraisers that you put your money towards mosquito nets to send to Africa, that is for malaria. So they are able to protect themselves from these mosquitoes. Evan?
And with warm weather.
Right. Yep. Warm weather, very warm weather. So places near the equator. Do you know where the equator is? The middle of the map. Yep. So like Africa, the middle of Africa, and then over to South America, the top of South America, like William was saying. Alan, did you have a question? No? Okay. Yeah.
Come out on summer nights, right?
Mosquitoes do, yes, but we don't have to worry about them over here because, yes, we do have a lot of mosquitoes around here, but the part that we don't have to worry about is the sporozoans over here in America because they're not able to survive over on these parts of the world because it gets really cold over here,
Cold.
even if it is during the summer. Okay, so to finish up with what sporozoans are, they are parasites that form spores and cause disease. So sporozoans themselves, they are not a disease. They are not a disease. They cause disease. They cause disease. So a sporozone is a parasite. So it is a type of thing that's going to infect its host, infect a human, and then cause disease. Okay, does that make sense? Nod your head yes, nod your head no. All right, sweet. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so a little bit more about sporozoans here. So they affect both animals and humans. Animals and humans. So when a mosquito lands on an animal, it can also infect the animal. So in Africa, if it lands on an elephant, it can travel through an elephant and cause its host, which is the elephant, to die as well.
What if you eat it?
So raise your hand if you got a question. Anyone want to give a shot at what the C word is right here? The CO word? Courtney, go for it. Close. Close. I think
Coccidia?
close. Yeah. Ian?
Coccidia.
Close. Aries? Coccidia. There we go. Good.
Because there's a double C.
Yeah, it's the Coccidia. Yep. Or Coccidia, depending on where you are in the world. So Coccidia is a group of sporozoans. So when more than one of these sporozoans, they get together, they collaborate, and they cause serious disease. So one sporozone itself does not cause the disease. Once it gets into a big group and they infect a red blood cell, then they're able to multiply and cause that disease. So Plasmodium is the most well-known group. So Plasmodium, that is a group of sporozoans, which leads to malaria. So the scientific name for malaria is going to be Plasmodium. Yeah, Madeline.
Is that supposed to be a
Yes, it's supposed to be red blood cell. On my screen, it's a lot more red than it is up there. It looks a lot pinker, maybe? Yeah. Yeah.
So if malaria affects like a deer or something and someone kills it and eats it, do they get malaria?
They can, yeah. It can travel through a just killed organism as well. Unless it's been, once you cook the animal though, the disease will be cooked out of it. But if you're eating a raw deer, then yeah.
That's people who will kill deer and just start eating it.
Right, yeah. So yes, you could that in
You
that
don't
case.
want to wait.
Oasis, please stop. Courtney?
Didn't we have some other like when we were learning about viruses?
Yeah, very similar to this one. Yep. So this is how viruses happen. They invade a red blood cell, and then from there, it's going to multiply from there. So that little parasite gets inside the red blood cell, and then the red blood cell from there multiplies with the virus inside of it. So that's how you are able to get sick. Yes, voices. Just for the animation. This is, by the way, if you think this is actually how a red blood cell looks, it's not. So fun fact for the day, this is not how a red blood cell works. This is an animated version.
What's a red bull?
If you have a question, raise your hand. If you have a question, raise your hand and I will get to you. William.
What's a red blood cell look like?
It's essentially a red blob. It's not a perfect circle. It's more of a puddle-shaped red blob. Yeah. Yeah, and then it going inside the middle of the Cheerio. Yeah.
They're coming out. And
But yeah, they don't look like a Cheerio either. But those are good aids to help you picture what it really looks like.
AIDS.
Okay, moving on to the life cycle of sporozoans.
more stuff.
The life cycle of sporozoans. If you already wrote this down in your notes, which is why I gave you the 20 minutes, then you wouldn't have to write all this. I did. That's what you're supposed to be doing during that time. It shouldn't have taken you 20 minutes to read that. Again, it shouldn't have taken you 20 minutes, but that's okay. That's why I have this up on the board. So sporozoans, their life cycle. So how do they start as just a tiny little parasite, and then how do they end up infecting and causing disease? Infecting organisms and causing disease. So sporozoans, they reproduce inside the gut of a mosquito. So they go inside a mosquito, and then from there, they are carrying the sporozone. And inside the gut of the mosquito, they multiply, and then they go into the saliva of the mosquito, which is how it enters into their host. So sporozoans, they are then injected into a human's bloodstream through a mosquito bite. We all know how a mosquito bite works, right? Everyone in here has gotten a mosquito bite. Mosquito, they have their little, I should have looked this up, whatever their tongue thing, it injects, that's not what it's called, their straw thing, it injects into your skin, which injects into your bloodstream. And that is where, when it shoots stuff out and then takes your blood back in, that is how it is infecting your blood. But here in America, we don't have to worry about that because the mosquitoes on this side of the world do not have the sporozoans inside them. Yes, Evan? Okay. What was that? I think so. Bats eat lots of different types of insects.
So what that is a mosquito that has the disease, will it be spread to the bat?
Yep, it can. Yep. Yep. But in Africa, there's not. I don't think there's a high population of bats in Africa. So, and which is where we have bats. We have bats on this side of the world, so we don't really have to worry about bats getting infected with it. In China, parts of China, we would have to worry about it because there's parts of China that are pretty close to the equator. Yeah, William. Very complicated. Yes, very complicated. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Scotland doesn't have any mosquitoes in it.
Yeah, because they're really cold. It's pretty much cold in Scotland year round.
So Russia?
Russia, cold year round, so they don't really have to deal with this.
What?
Yep, because they are closer to the North Pole.
You can still get the common cold and stuff like that.
You can, yeah, but you're not going to have to worry about malaria.
Like,
There's like no
there's
life
just
up there.
nothing there.
Yeah, there's just nothing there. Except for Santa. Santa's up there.
That's true, yeah, like,
Wink, wink.
Santa's not real.
Hey, don't ruin it for everyone. Okay, so sporozoans, they invade the red blood cell, which I've mentioned already. So they are invading the red blood cell, and then the red blood cells, they are going to invade other healthy cells. And they do this through, as Madeline said, both asexual and sexual reproduction. So they go through both types of sexual reproduction to infect their host. Yes? I don't know. So let's stay on track here. So, and then at the very end, this process causes malaria. This all causes malaria. Okay, so this is kind of what we've been talking about the entire time. I just slapped it onto a slide to have it in word form so you would understand. I think there's a picture in your book of how it actually, yeah. So at the bottom of page 105, it has a picture of how it happens as well. So bottom of page 105.
Alaska should be totally fine.
Yep, Alaska is fine. They still have mosquitoes though.
Like,
Don't their mosquitoes get really fat?
Yeah, yep. Okay, I'm going to move on. So one more second. Yeah, Evan. There is mosquitoes in Alaska. There's lots of mosquitoes in Alaska. Mosquitoes live anywhere where there is water. Yep, anywhere there's water, there's going to be mosquitoes. Yep. Yeah, so you won't have to worry about malaria over there. But you have to worry about a bunch of other types of diseases. It's like COVID. Yeah.
So isn't it true that sometimes mosquitoes can use your blood for age or something like that?
Yeah. Yep.
So we're technically connected to mosquitoes.
In a way, yeah, we're connected to everything.
They have our DNA. So.
Everything in our ecosystem is connected. Well, they don't take our DNA. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Courtney?
Does it matter if it's saltwater or freshwater?
No, it doesn't matter. They will be near any body of water will be fresh or salt water. Yeah, Bethy?
Isn't it only female mosquitoes that bite people?
I'm not sure on that part.
Yeah,
I'm
actually,
not sure.
the females, the males all use nectar.
Yeah, I'm
Also, bite off.
yeah, that's a possibility. Okay, I'm going to move on here so we can finish on time. Okay, so malaria. So a couple questions for you. So how might climate change contribute to malaria? How might climate change contribute to malaria? Oasis? Right? Right? Good. Anyone want to add to that? There's a little bit more elaboration I'm looking for. Aries? What happens if it gets hotter around the world? Because global warming, it's not just the whole world getting colder, it's also the whole world heating up. That's more the problem is through global warming, the whole world is warming up. That's why a bunch of our ice caps up in the North Pole, South Pole, they are melting. And that's why our water levels are rising. Okay, so how would our whole world getting hotter and hotter affect Malaria. Yeah, Ellen? Exactly. In the cold, exactly. So things that survive in warmer climates, like mosquitoes and malaria, it will start to, rather than it staying right next to the equator, it's going to slowly start to grow and move its way towards the North and South Pole as it gets warmer and warmer. So how does knowing a mosquito's life cycle help prevent malaria? So why do we need to know about the life cycle of mosquito? Why do scientists study the life cycle of mosquito? William?
For certain parts of its life, that's when it can pick up malaria.
Right, yep. So we want to know certain parts of its life so we know how to prevent and how we can keep the disease from occurring and slow down the reproduction. That was the other thing, slowing down the reproduction process.
Is there a drawback if we took away all mosquitoes?
Oh yeah, yep, because a lot of animals eat, eat bats, lots of animals eat insects, or eat mosquitoes. Aries? Probably. I typed this last night when I was watching Good Mythical Morning, so.
Why don't you watch Golden Girls?
Yeah.
I haven't watched Jim.
Yeah. I started watching it over the summer. Yeah, they are. They've been around for since I was in high school.
How long
Yeah.
have they been doing?
Okay. Exactly. Yeah, they would become more of a problem in every part of the world. Okay, let's move on to that's okay. So if we have time, I'm going to go back to this, how it infects the red blood cells, but right now we don't have enough time, so I'm gonna move on. Okay, so let's finish up the lesson. Actually, I'm just gonna play it at the very end when you're starting your math. So fungus-like protists. Fungus-like protists. So this is a pretty short lesson, so 107 to 108. This was a shorter lesson, so we won't have as much to talk about. Okay, so fungus-like protists. Guess what? They're also heterotrophs. So all of these, they are all heterotrophs, except for which type of protist? Except for which type of protist is not a heterotroph. So fungus-like, they are heterotrophs. Animal-like, they are heterotrophs. They all feed off of other organisms. So Aries, what's the other one? Plant-like. So plant-like protists, they are not heterotrophs. So they're the only ones who are different because they get their energy from the sun. They soak up their energy from the sun, just like plants. Exactly. And that's why some people like to put protists into fungus, or they try and put them into a plant or an animal. That's why there's a lot of controversy over protists. But that's why we ended up scientists created a entire kingdom just for protists, because they have all these characteristics of animals, plants, fungus. Kinda, yeah, sometimes it seems like that. So they reproduce using spores, just like fungus. They absorb nutrients from dead or decaying materials, just like fungus. And then they form spores. Hey, guess what? Just like fungus. So if you know how fungi work, you're gonna know how a fungus-like protist works. If you know what a plant-like protist how it works, you're gonna know how all those work. So all this is saying is that there are some protists that are like fungi, there are some protists like animals, some protists that are just like plants. Madeline.
What is that picture exactly?
That's a rotting potato.
That's a potato. I thought that was like a peach.
That's a potato, yep. So
Potato.
You read the book.
the stuff that's growing on it, yes.
I know.
That's when it goes bad. No, it's not. Yeah. Technically, it's not a plant. So those of you who think a potato is a plant, well, it's a plant. It's not a vegetable. There we go.
It's fruit.
It's not a fruit either.
What is it?
It's a carbohydrate.
No, it's a fruit.
It falls under like rice and beans. Rice and beans and potatoes, they're all carbs. So that's why when people go on diets that don't have carbs, you're not going to be eating potatoes anymore. So no more French fries. I know, that'd be a struggle. No more mashed potatoes.
Oh no!
Thanksgiving is coming up.
I know, so, yep.
Why would you want to go on a diet right before Thanksgiving?
I'm just saying people who are on certain types of diets. Okay, so that is fungus-like protists. So I'm going to move on. Okay.
Finish writing it down.
Slime mold. Slime mold.
Oh, slime mold.
I want to.
Slime mold. That's okay. It's the exact same as any different type of fungus.
I have a lot.
And it's also in your book. So slime mold. Slime mold is very cool. So it has individual cells. So each slime mold has individual cells. They all act together and they form one organism that you can actually see. Yeah.
I have like a whole list of things I can say about this.
Nice.
Am I able to say one?
Yeah, go ahead and say one.
It reproduces through a receptacle called a sporozoan.
Yep, and so that was me saying they reproduce through spores, so I just shortened that down. Yep. Yep.
Can you have one of those pet?
Have what? Mold?
You slime mold as a pet.
I mean, you guys probably have mold as a pet in your refrigerator at home in some way.
How?
In your food.
In your food.
Whoa, do we throw away our pets?
You throw away your old food, so if your food is your pet, then sure. I mean, people flush their fish down the toilet when they die, so hey.
Yes. Okay, I don't understand that. No.
My sisters would all like
If our
have a
fish
whole
is
funeral over this horse.
Or you could just feed it to your cat.
That's messed up. Our little pet snake that tries to eat our fish eats them.
Yeah. Yeah, you could feed it to a reptile.
Oh, and our got a turtle that tried to eat it.
Have you? Nice.
I choked it out when I was 4.
Okay, so here was it's not even a meme, my picture that I made up this morning. So I just added the Fortnite so people actually understood some things, but for those of you who don't understand this, ask Oasis.
Fortnite is the way to keep 9-year-olds out of Call of Duty.
It's Big Chungus and Shrek combined into one character.
Yeah.
So those of you who don't know who Big Chungus is or Shrek,
I do look like a beaver.
ask Oasis because it's the Big Chungus.
The first one is Fortnite.
Yeah, he's a bunny. All right. So there's that. I'm going to now show the video. So we have finished Unit 2. We finished Unit 2, so we're going to be moving on to Unit 3 next week. So tomorrow in science will be a work day. So you will have time to finish up your science homework tomorrow. You will also have time to finish up all your math homework tomorrow. So I will be readily available to help you with any question that you have tomorrow in math, science, and during study hall. So we are done with Unit 2. So I will show you this video. You can start getting out your math stuff while I am showing this. So go ahead and get your math stuff out. The homework is listed up on the board, so get that written down on your homework sheet.